can you comment on this quote?
Okay.
It said, I am against education that is only available to the top 1% of all students.
Yeah.
I am against tens of thousands of dollars of tuition expenses.
Yeah.
I am against the imbalance that the present system brings to the world.
Yeah.
I want to empower the 99%.
I think it is egregious that young kids come out of college and they have to pay $200,000 in debt, right? So a Harvard, a Yale, a Princeton, but what they're many a times paying for the money is the brand. If someone says they went to a big name college, you probably think better of them. Or if someone says that they went to a community college, perhaps that's not your first indication. And that's what they paid for. And that's an unjust world. The way to level the playing field for a lot of folks is by offering quality education at a very low cost or no cost.
I feel incredibly fortunate that I happen to sit next to the correct person at work. And he is, I think, one of the most positive, wonderful people at Udacity.
At Udacity, I teach. So I'll come up with a lesson, who my learner is, what my learning objectives are, and then use that script essentially to be in front of the camera and teach a particular thing. It takes several months to make a course. So it begins with, what are my learning objectives? What big idea am I trying to convey? And then once I have that, I will start to come up with learning activities. So for instance, one of the learning activities I used when making the course on Python was creating an app that would prompt a friend of yours to take regular breaks during the day. The program was to essentially prompt your friend to take a break every 2 hours of work on the computer, because the program would play a little YouTube song that would remind them of the fact that it's break time. And so I would assemble a whole bunch of activities like that and then record them in front of the camera or on a tablet, and then there is a very large editing team that's available that puts these courses together, and then we put them online, and there's a business and marketing function in the company that promotes these courses outside. I want to say one of those courses, I know for a fact I had close to 130 videos. And so you multiply that with the number of courses I've done about 5 of them, so many. In this class, we will make challenging projects. But at the same time, we will ensure that you are comfortable with the learning curve. I can put myself into the shoes of a new learner really easily. It comes very comfortably to me. So I ask the questions a novice learner would ask, and that makes my instruction reasonable.
3 of the things that I think are different between Kunal and most other people I know is his level of compassion, his level of empathy, empathizing with the learner, empathizing with you, the person he's talking to, and also the types of questions that he asks.
He looks at problems in different ways than you might assume. I think when you're in a culture that is not your own, you're forced to ask a lot of questions.
When I begin teaching something, say I'm teaching Python, the first question I would ask is, why is this thing named Python? Why is this Canon camera Canon? And I'd go into a little bit of a history, try and tell a story around that and make people connected to the technology or the product.
One of the ways that he's engaged those people a little bit more is he's asked the community of students to interact with each other. So he'll say something like, now you've learned about whatever with building Android apps. Go on the forums and write down a question that you would ask yourself. If you were me, if you were teaching this, what question would you ask the student? Which is kind of an interesting role reversal, you know? Like, the students aren't used to thinking of it from the other side. But doing that inspires each other to answer each other's questions.
You have to constantly put yourself in the head of the students that you're teaching, right? To say, like, I want to teach this concept. What is the easiest way that I can impart this knowledge so that they have an insight? And you have to constantly toggle between feeling knowledgeable enough to impart that, but then feeling and sort of recalling that feeling of not knowing anything.
So I remember my first computer programming class. I was really excited. But then the instructor started to use vocabulary that was somewhat strange to me. I felt intimidated and almost quit. Perhaps you know that feeling. In this class, we will do things differently.
Kunal is a very experienced educator, and that goes for one-on-one, but also at scale, where you're staring into a camera and you can't see the student that you're trying to teach.
Now that I don't have 30 students, I have 10,000, I can perhaps get data from their responses to sort of extrapolate how the group is thinking and tweak my instruction that way. So there are, benefits to both, but there is a part of me that sort of misses teaching inside a real physical classroom.
At scale, one person can't have a direct connection with every individual student. That just doesn't work. You can only scale linearly like that. If you want to scale exponentially, then you need to find some way to engage the learners, not just to learn themselves, but to help teach each other. He doesn't only teach, he learns. He learns like crazy.
Being an educator has actually helped me become a better learner in some ways, because I keep telling my students, you can learn anything. And so I kind of have to lead by example. So for instance, I've been learning to play the piano.
Learning piano is so hard, and he's just voracious. Every morning he plays piano.
About 10 days ago, I picked a tough song to play, and this morning I was able to play it. It sounded really good. I was able to play the chords and play the melody and sing on top of the whole ensemble, and it sounded really beautiful. But 10 days ago, I knew nothing about that song.
He comes to work and he says, Ben, guess what? I just played this song and I've been working on it for a week and it's amazing.
I think being an educator tells me this sort of an event happens with some regularity, which is you'll know nothing about it, and then a few hours of investment, and now you begin to know a lot already. And so I think the one thing that has transformed within me as an educator is the fact that I think I'm a better learner now.
It's phenomenal to have someone who not only teaches but also walks the walk. They don't just tell their students to learn, they make themselves learn too.
I think I'm in the business of inspiration. Why are computers amazing? That's what I'm in the business of. So when you couple that with the fact that good teaching and learning can actually change people's lives and their families' lives and their economic trajectory, that's a very inviting thought to me. The idea of understanding something really deeply and being able to unpack that idea for someone else is a very inviting idea for me. And I feel like whatever little I've accomplished in my life thus far has been primarily because of the education I got, which was a gift from my teachers and my parents to me, and a small, humble way to sort of pass it on is to teach.